Good morning, and welcome to our continuing series on homeopathy with our resident expert from Pondicherry, Dr. Pachegaonkar. Namaste. Sir, I think the people might like your email address. Could you give it to them?
Yeah, it's dr dot uttareshwar @gmail.com.
Wonderful. And today's subject is on the skin, a very important subject actually. Um, Healthy skin.
Yes.
How do we achieve it?
Skin that way is most important organ in everyone's body. It has multiple functions and it is rich in nerve supply. So not only the sensation of touch, but the skin perspires, skin has hair growth. Then many times we have seen that if you don't maintain skin properly, then you get many ailments because of either more dryness or because of too much of oily skin. Mainly skin is again an integral part of the body. It is one component of the whole totality of the being. So it's equally important. And so many disorders are reflected on skin. So skin can be a wonderful mirror for the health. Skin in general needs that you should follow healthy living practices in general. A very simple example, that you should maintain yourself well hydrated. Now if you are not hydrated well, and if there is a dryness or what we call sometimes unintentional dehydration, that you fail to drink adequate quantity of fluid in any form, then the dryness comes. Most of the time, suppose someone is thirsty as well as hungry, and you eat your meal. We have to understand that each meal, every individual secretes almost 1 liter of saliva for proper digestion. Now imagine if you are already thirsty and dehydrated and you eat your food, your body has to devote 1 liter of fluid in the form of saliva for the sake of digestion. Anyway, this saliva is again recycled and reused by body, but that takes more than 2 hours. So body gets further dehydrated if you fail to drink water before food. That's why we advise that every time you eat, ensure that half an hour earlier you hydrate yourself well. So on an average, we all advise that before each meal, be it breakfast, be it lunch or be it dinner, you should consume at least 1 liter of fluid half an hour before food. So your body is well hydrated and skin doesn't have any dryness or cracks because of this dryness. Another aspect in maintenance of skin is that people, they tend to wash skin so much with ample of soap, and soap, if it is applied much, it absorbs the oily skin oil, or the moisturizer what is naturally secreted in skin is taken off by excess use of soap. So further dryness comes. And I have seen that people using too much of soap for hands, they get desquamation. And moreover, there are some soaps which contain carbolic acid as a disinfectant, this phenol. And this phenol has one character, that it just dissolves your skin, it eats up the skin. So too much of washing with soap also is harmful. Even shampoo for scalp, we have seen that there is utter dryness in the scalp because people use too much of shampoo for their hair. So for skin care, you need to take adequate care, but at the same time you should not do excessive cleaning. We have seen some people who have stinking sweat, that disorder. Now, that stinking sweat is not because you are not washing it very often. It is because maybe you have inadequate hydration, and therefore what there is no further scope for free sweating, and therefore it may stink. Or there can be some fungal infections or some skin disorders which emit that sort of a smell to the sweat. So it is not like washing with the soap will help that way. So it is always better to hydrate yourself properly. Now another condition where people seemingly take care of skin is taking bath. Now bath has a greater significance. Not even skin cleanliness at skin level is one aspect which is very superficial aspect. But the fact is that when one takes bath, it it cleanses our aura. So all the negativities of night which we have gone through, all those negativities are cleansed by symbolically by taking bath. But what we advise is if people are in hurry, then also you should follow certain this order for taking bath. The order should be when you wet, especially in India, like hot countries, or even in temperate climate also. While taking bath, you should start in ascending order. You should wet your feet first, then up to waist, then up to shoulder, and then head. So I have come across some cases in my clinic where they have done this blunder. There was a case last year we attended. A person working in Chennai was on holiday. He was in his farm. He worked along with other people very hard and lot of sweating so he wanted to get ready after taking bath in the farm. So he just saw that for irrigation purpose the pump is going on and water is being pumped for irrigation. So he directly went under that water flow and had bath, quick shower under that, and then he came down with typical what we call a viral illness, and it took 1 week for him to recover because it causes sudden turmoil in the individual. Like he's overheated by taking work in the farm, and as soon as he finished his work, he just went under the shower, and that crisis his body couldn't take it, and it took 1 week for him to recover.
Now, you mentioned taking bath in the morning on waking up. What about in the evening before bed?
Yes, evening also one should take bath. One can take because even daytime also you are exposed to so much of chemicals and dust and exposure. You can clean yourself, but one care you have to take is you take bath before dinner, not after dinner. Or if you are taking before going to bed, then it has to be 2.5 hours after dinner. You just shouldn't take meal and then take bath. The reason being, see, whenever we eat our food, the food has to churn in our stomach for at least 1.5 to 2 hours. And when food is churning in stomach, it's a heavy activity. And when one part of our body is active, getting overheated, and the remaining part taking bath, that again creates crisis. Therefore, you must have realized that when you are taking up swimming, the coach advises that no, you should not eat and then swim. You can swim and then eat. You shouldn't take up swimming as soon as you take your meal. So same way for bath also. So evening bath also is fine. Only in India we don't advise bath in the noon hours, hot hours. The bath is not for cooling your body. For cooling your body, you should drink lot of water. That helps more. Sometimes, if you are overheated and if the temperature is too high and you take bath, that sudden contrast also bothers you. The body goes into crisis if you take this type of bath. So it is always to relax for a while, then take bath, and then again relax for a while. You just can't take bath and go out and expose yourself to climatic weather. So bath that way really helps you in cooling, getting freshened up, but at the same time you must be quite relaxed. Your body shouldn't have any turmoil before going for bath. Why? We have seen, like, see the rainwater. That is the purest form of water you get. And I have seen people getting wet in rain and they come down with illnesses. The main reason is not that getting wet in rain, but main reason is sometimes people start rushing. If they are getting wet in rain, getting drenched in rain, they start rushing, they run, they walk fast, and then internally they get overheated, and then externally the rain pours, and that contrast is troublesome. So we advise that if you have to get wet in rain, then just relax and get wet. It won't harm. It will be like another shower for you. But if you start hurrying to go home or to go to shelter, then that hurrying itself causes lot of internal heat, and externally you are cooled down by shower. And that contrast actually affects you, and your immunity is compromised there.
And of course, the rainwater is cool.
Yes, cool and most pure.
Yes.
There should be no impurity in rainwater. But then, even then, people suffer only because they start hurrying, or they run and then get wet in rain.
Could you talk a little bit about itching of the skin?
Yes. See, this itching is something where, from chemical point of view or physiological point of view, if there is any irritation, the histamine is released in our body to antidote it, and that causes itching. So the itching can be what we call because of a transient allergen or antigen,
Okay.
and then it gets resolved. So itching naturally draws more blood supply there. So what we call dry pruritus. Pruritus is itching in skin without any eruption. That is dry pruritus. It can non-specifically happen and get resolved. So I don't think every time you need to intervene with medicines.
Mm.
But many times you get fungal infections, especially in folds, in groin, in armpits, or in the folds in abdomen. You get fungal infections. Not only you get fungal infections in the web also, where the surface remains wet and doesn't get dry. And see, these fungi are opportunistic. Wherever there is scope or there is low susceptibility, the fungi grow. So what we advise is that you just try to maintain it dry. See, our groin skin, the perineum skin, groin skin, or armpits, it's very delicate. It's a very delicate skin. So we advise that this skin, when you take bath or even otherwise, you just dry it with cotton cloth, dry it 2-3 times, and many times we advise that you apply coconut oil,
Mm.
just coconut oil after bath, that too after drying properly, and in about 2 weeks time the fungus stops growing, so
Why,
you don't get
why
itching.
an oil rather than a powder?
Yeah. See, oil is something which works as a barrier, so it allows sweating freely.
Oh, it does.
It allows sweating freely, but the outside dust can't affect the skin. It absorbs there. And by subsequent bath, like evening or next day, everything is washed off. Whereas the fashionable talcum powder is the fashion now. And we have seen some talcum powders where they use hexachlorophene to suppress the sweat. And suppression of sweat is not a good thing. The skin can't breathe. If the sweat is suppressed, definitely it will have bad implications. So we always advise coconut oil after drying it completely, but keep it dry. That is the best part. Like, you shouldn't allow the moisture to be wet there for hours together. And we have, like, sloughing of webs we have seen, where the two digits, they are just united with each other, and there is no scope for breathing. So we advise that you just widen it, dry it, and apply coconut oil, and just 3-4 times you just widen it and dry it. That itself is enough to maintain it. And we have treated cases of sloughing and those ulcerations where like they were chronic for years together, they couldn't get rid of it in spite of antifungal or antibiotics applications. But with this management, it gets cured within 2-3 weeks.
2-3 weeks.
Yes, yes.
And that would be toenail fungus and athlete's foot, I guess.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very common. Very common.
Yes, yes. Interesting. And is there any emollients or other things to be used on the skin to soften it, to...
No, that's what I say. Like we have treated the regards, the cracks in the heels or even in the hands, where internally you just convince the person to keep oneself well hydrated. First of all, and at the most for temporary measure, as a curative measure, we can advise them to apply a simple moisturizer like petroleum jelly or coconut oil again. That's the best source here in India. In South India, we get coconut oil, which is most natural and healthy, and even people use it for cooking.
Sure.
It's edible oil. So it's the easiest source. So we apply and cracks do disappear.
Sunburn on the skin.
Yes, yes. That's again is
It's a
very
big-
important. Yes,
big
yes,
category.
Yes. Nowadays very common that photosensitivity, we call it. The best approach is that you give guarded exposure to skin. I have treated some cases where they just are allergic to sun rays. They just can't stand it. So what we do is in such cases, we give them exposure to tender sun, like morning, say 10-15 minutes. The sun is quite tender, it is red, even with naked eye you can see the sun. So we start from that, and slowly they can be acclimatized to harsher sun, and that really helps them. Again, internally drinking lot of water, and initially what we tell them is just go on rotating in the sun, tender sun, so that every minute the skin is in the shade and then again exposed to rays. So this way a person can get seasoned and they develop. Of course, there are internal homeopathic medicines which we consider this as a what we call hyperimmune response to sun rays. See, basically exposure to sun is essential for everyone, because vitamin D3, which is very important vitamin for developing immunity as well as building up your musculoskeletal tissues. So vitamin D3 is very crucial in calcium metabolism, and sun is the best source of vitamin D3. What happens when our skin is exposed to direct sun rays, that to the rays of intensity of 290 to 320 nanometer intensity, our skin, these sun rays, the ultraviolet B rays, work as catalyst to synthesize vitamin D3 precursor. And the best part of this is this vitamin D3 being fat soluble vitamin, excess becomes toxic. If you take in chemical form and if it is in excess, then it is more toxic than even deficiency. So what we advise is when you get vitamin D3 synthesized in your body through this action of ultraviolet B rays, it comes in precursor form. So there will be never toxicity by having vitamin D3 because it is stored in a precursor form. So whenever it is required, that precursor form turns into vitamin D3 and it's utilized. So that is the best source. So the people who have developed photosensitivity or they are allergic to sun, It is very essential for us to treat this person slowly so that he is not or she is not deprived of natural source of vitamin D3.
I have a friend who worked in Oroville for many, many years in the sun, and suddenly now she can't take any sun at all.
It's what in homeopathically we call it a miasmatic disorder. That suddenly a body develops a delusion and considers sun heat or on exposure to sun as a severe antigen. So it is what we call a hyperimmune response, and that can be moderated
Hmm.
with internally giving homeopathic medicines, as well as I told you, with guarded exposure. So what we do is, like suppose sun rises at 6:30, so we ask the person again to expose one's skin to this tender sun, and slowly like 6:45, then 7, then 7:15, then 7:30,
Ah.
and maybe in the course of 3-4 months the person stops being allergic to it.
I have heard that vitamin D3 is in India not very prevalent in young people.
The reason being the modern lifestyle. We have done this survey that the children grown up in rural area, they don't have any deficiency. Whereas currently, last year there was survey in New Delhi that 95% of the children in New Delhi were having deficiency in vitamin D3. The reason is they are always in their house or air conditioned car, even the schools are air conditioned, so no exposure to sun. No exposure to sun, and therefore 95% children. So now they have taken a decision that on mass scale the children are exposed to sun by virtue of having a prayer in the open ground or something. Even their uniforms were like that. They are in full coat and overcoat and all in school as a uniform.
The skin is not exposed.
Skin is hardly exposed to
Yeah,
sun.
Yeah.
So this was really alarming. And the amount of
Certainly.
vitamin D3, and another thing is vitamin D3, if it is taken in chemical form, causes lot of problems like hyperacidity and elation and mood swings, etc.
Ah.
Yes.
My friend, who passed away from skin cancer, used to only wear a loincloth in Oroville and go about his work. Wonderful fellow. But skin cancer is very invasive, isn't it?
Yes. He was librarian there?
No, he worked in the gardens.
See, skin cancer that way is most friendly cancer.
Hmm.
It what we call a local malignancy.
Oh.
So it itself doesn't cause much discomfort or toxicity or any invasion. However, it continues to grow. So and then the skin is that way, and generally it comes on face, because face is maximum exposed to sun, around the nose or around the face. But what we say is, always we advise that if you are suddenly exposed to sun, like suppose say the person is 40 and at the age of 40 he starts exposing himself to sun, and because of this sudden irritability or consistent irritability, there occurs sort of a neoplastic phenomena, so the malignancy comes. So if he is seasoned, his skin is seasoned for exposure gradually, then the toxicity doesn't come. Another thing is, if the exposure to sun, where the intensity of ultraviolet B rays is higher than 325 nanometer, there those conditions are more toxic, and they are the what predisposing factors for malignancy.
Yes.
So best would be, like, one should not be exposed to harsh sun in India after say 1 o'clock. So 1 to 5 o'clock would be a harsh sun, but if you are rotating yourself, not constantly under sun, constantly, then there should be no issue.
Last question. Westerners who have light skin
Yes,
and the sun.
they are more vulnerable because pigmentation essentially is sort of a protection against ultraviolet B rays. But see, that can be advantage also, because see, if someone has white skin, the pigmentation is low, there the vitamin D3 formation is much easier.
Ah,
So we always advise longer exposure for dark skinned people, because the synthesis of vitamin D3 precursor is slow in them. So white skin is an advantage so long as you have guarded exposure. White skin person, like, skin is white because the person is not exposed to harsh sun for generations.
mm-hmm.
For generations.
Yes.
Because
yes.
skin is again inherited, or we see. So for generations, if you are in a temperate climate, skin becomes white. Same way, if the person is coming in tropical climate, then that exposure has to be a guarded exposure. Slowly the person has to get acclimatized, and maybe in few years time the skin can get resistant to photosensitivity or harsh sun.
Ah,
But sudden exposure definitely can be a cause of even developing cancer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wonderful talk. Thank you so much.
Yeah.